Hi everybody, Digital Ben here, back with you once again inside the Digital Den at the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library to continue this mini-series on the intro to 3D printing, part 3, as this video will be talking about Cura Ultimaker. This is something that you don't necessarily need to know to be able to start 3D printing here at the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library. Only need part 1 to be able to know exactly how to send us those 3D printed files and where to go to be able to get them if you don't care about designing things yourself, and part 2 to be able to learn how to design those things yourself. This video is specifically talking about people that are really interested in learning more about what goes into translating those files into something that our program or our 3D printers can read, and what to look for to be able to make sure that our prints are much more successful. So if you're just really interested in learning a lot more about 3D printing and kind of what makes it work and how to use other 3D printing programs, this is a great video for that. But if you just care about, hey, I really want to make a Mario print of like a little figurine of Mario, you can just go to thingiverse.com. I'm sure they got one there of that sort of thing. And you can send me the file and I will print that up for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into Cura Ultimaker and I'll tell you the basics of what works with that program, okay? Files, which are the files that are basically the design for the 3D model, but it's not the actual file that my 3D printer is going to read, or your 3D printer if you're thinking about getting one, to be able to actually know how to print the thing. And so that file is actually called a G-code file, which we will get from Cura Ultimaker, that provides the instructions for our 3D printer to know exactly how to print your object. Okay, so that's what Cura Ultimaker is for. It is for providing those instructions and making it easier to be able to print that 3D design for your whatever it is that you're trying to print. So if you watched the last video about Tinkercad, you'll probably see that this work plane looks fairly similar to that of Tinkercad, but in terms of actually editing your files, the capabilities are a lot lower. So in terms of customizability, you're going to be able to have a lot more options in Tinkercad. So if you are taking an existing design and wanting to add something new to it, Tinkercad is a great place to be able to go to import those files and work on that. But Cura Ultimaker is where you're ultimately going to go to be able to print those. One of the programs that you could go to, that's what we use here at the library, to be able to actually translate the file, to print it, and make minor edits to it, okay? So taking a look at the work plane, being able to move the work plane around is very similar to Tinkercad. Right-click on the work plane to be able to move the camera around. You can scroll up or down on the mouse wheel to be able to zoom in or out, and you can also click in on the mouse wheel to be able to move the work plane left, right, up, or down, okay? So to be able to teach you the basics of kind of what we're going to be working with, let's go ahead and pull up a file, and I will show you what to look for when it comes to being able to make sure that your print is going to be successful. So I pulled up this leaf project. This is something that is going to be a part of a take and make that will be coming later on this year here at the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library, so look out for those. But this leaf is a design that is actually very easy to print. A couple of things to look for to be able to know if your print is going to be something easy or difficult is if it's got any dead space that is above the work plane. So what I mean by dead space is when you look at the work plane from this angle right here, you can see that the entire project is touching the bed of it, right? And if you look at it from upside down, you'll see that everything is red. That basically just means that that is the bottom of your project. Even if something is floating, if something is like up, say you have a character bringing up Mario again, maybe Mario is shooting a fireball and he's got his hand out like this. Under the underside of his hand and arm would be glowing red because that is the underside of your project, and you would need to build in supports to be able to hold up his arm so that it doesn't kind of print like this, like it's, all hanging down and stuff, because the way that a 3D printer prints is it prints one layer at a time and then builds on top of that And so if we don't have anything holding up something that is outstretched, then it won't print right and it'll hang down like that. So this leaf is great, but maybe we want to make some basic edits to it. All I have to do to be able to edit things is click on the leaf, and then that will open up the opportunity for me to use any of the things on the tools on the left-hand side. If I want to move it on the work plane, that's what this first tool is for. I can either click and drag my project to be able to move it around, or I can even type in the numbers here on the X, Y, and Z axis to be able to move things around, okay? But I want for everything to be 0, so I'm going to 0 everything out, and that will move it back to the very center of the work plane there, okay? Going down to the next category here on the left-hand side, this is going to allow for me to be able to adjust the size of my project, which will change the print time based on the size. And the nice thing is that it's already got uniform scaling checked for us. And so if I adjust the size of the x-axis, it will also adjust the size of the y and z axis so that everything is nice and uniform, so that it's not going to make something like elongated in some weird way. I could uncheck that and then I could make it elongated if I wanted to, but for the purposes of this, we'll keep that checked in. If I want for things to be, bigger or smaller, I could either click and drag, just like we talked about in the first area, or I could type in the numbers. I want everything to stay 100%. So I am going to type that number in, and it's going to reflect that on all 3 axes. Okay. Here in the bottom right-hand corner, what this slice button means is it's basically going to prepare the project, prepare that G-code file to be able to send to our 3D printer so they can get the instructions on how to print it. If I hit that slice button, it's going to process that and let us know, hey, it's going to take about an hour to be able to print that. Now, if I adjust the size on it, if I scale that up, and I hit slice on it, it's going to make it a much longer print time, probably 3.5, 4 hours, I'd guess. 3.5 hours on that print size there. And same thing, if I click and drag and I make it quite a bit smaller, that print time is going to be much faster, down to 8 minutes, on that. So depending on the size that you want, everything is based in millimeters in this program. And actually it's based in millimeters in Tinkercad as well as most other 3D modeling programs. Okay. We're going to jump everything back to 100% and jump down over here to the next category. This will allow for us to be able to tilt things. Say this, I want to print this leaf on its side. I could move everything to a 90-degree angle, and that will allow for me to be able to print the leaf on its side like this. However, the problem is that that is going to you see how all of the red marks have shifted onto the bottom side of the various leaves indents. This would be incredibly difficult to be able to print this and actually make it come out okay, because we would need to add some additional supports in there to be able to make sure that all the nooks and crannies of the leaf would be able to be something that would print appropriately. And so the easiest print would be exactly the way we had it originally, which would be to print it on that 90-degree angle, turn it 90 degrees to be able to have it flush with the ground there. That's going to make it, or with the bed there, that's going to make it the easiest print on that. Okay. But for the purposes of this, I mean, I have used this tool quite a bit. I was working with one patron to be able to print a ring that had his name on it. And I actually had to turn it on its side to be able to have the text of his name facing up, because that made it easiest for the 3D printer to be able to get that fine detail of printing the name accurately. And then we could, go in and remove the supports after the fact, because if I had turned it on its side, the printer couldn't determine the fine detail nearly as well as having the name on its side, because it just, building the supports was a lot more difficult in that way. Okay. All right, so anyway, that's the turn function. And the last one that I'm going to talk about here on the side is this fourth one. This will allow for us to be able to change the positioning of it by flipping things over more easily. So if I click on this red button here, it will flip things over. So if I want for things to be in a different direction, I could click any of these to be able to flip them around. The blue one is the height of it, and so that's not going to adjust anything for the purposes of this project, but it could if things weren't more uniform. So clicking on the green will move things up or down, and clicking on the red will flip things either left or right. Okay. These last two things here aren't things that you'll need to worry about because this is something for, providing additional supports in a specific way. And then this is another one that you won't have to worry about so much. So don't worry too much about that. If you'd like to adjust the file name, you could come down here and click on the pencil, and then you could change the name of the file to be whatever you wanted. Leafy. Yeah, so you could do that. And then the last thing I will talk about is here in the top right hand corner. These are all the printer settings. Okay. This is something that you'll have to play around with for your specific printer a lot to be able to make sure that you are printing things appropriately. This is where 3D printing gets really complicated, and that's why, for the purposes of printing things here at the library, I actually take on the brunt of that, and I do all of this for you. You'll actually never have to see this program if you're only printing here with us at the library. This is only for if you're interested in learning more about 3D printing and getting your own, that this is a program that you might use. So the quality here, the higher the number, the higher the quality. Essentially, there, the shell is similar to the quality in terms of the higher the number, the higher everything there. Infill density, this is on what the inside of your 3D print is going to look like. If I, for example, print a box, like a big old box, and I have that infill density up to 100%, that is going to mean that every single layer is as thick as possible. Whereas if I put it down to 20%, which is our typical standard here at the library, then it will allow for some open space inside there in a cubic pattern, so that it is it is somewhat hollow on the inside and not completely super duper thick, as if it were at 100% density. The material here, this is the various temperatures that things are going to be printed at. These are the temperatures that I find that our printers here at the library print best with. Things that could adjust the temperature could be temperature of your space, as well as some humidity and some other things going on with the environment could adjust the temperatures, as well as the different type of PLA filament, which is what we use, but the different types of filament could require different temperatures. You just kind of have to play around with it until you figure out, hey, this is what works best for me, my printer, my environment, and my filament. Okay. Don't have to worry about cooling or travel or speed too much there. Supports, this is where we would generate our own supports for that leaf. Like, for example, if I turn the leaf here on its side once again, let me do that. Oh, wrong way. If I turn the leaf on the side like this and I want to print it like that, I would need some supports. So I could click on generate supports, and I could adjust the structure of them, the pattern of the supports, as well as the density of those supports. If I hit slice here and I click on preview on that project, you'll see that the way that the supports are popping in, it will provide supports to be able to try to hold up this leaf so that it'll print at that slant that I have put those in on. Okay. And then the last thing that you'll ever need is the build plate adhesion. This is just provides some additional structure to hold your project in place so that it doesn't slide all over the place. If it is a project that does not have a lot on the ground layer, I highly recommend that you put some additional adhesion on there. But if it's like a box like we were talking about, and there's a lot of flat layer on the base of the bed, then you may not need this additional adhesion. Okay. Once I'm done and I'm ready to print my file, I can either save the file or I can even plug in a micro SD card and it'll automatically recognize the micro SD card and save immediately to that. And I can even eject the micro SD card right here from the from Cura Ultimaker as well. So I can in, out, grab my project and jump over to the 3D printer. So that's pretty much everything you'll need to know as far as the basics of Cura Ultimaker. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any other questions about 3D printing, I highly recommend that you come on down to the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library Digital Den during our open hours. Now, I mean open hours for the Digital Den. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the dates that we are open, various times. On those 9 to noon on Mondays, 2 to 5 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 5:30 to 7:30 on Wednesdays. Stop on in during those times. Those are our open hours where you can just come in with any questions. You can always email me directly or give me a call with questions as well. Email brutz@khcpl.org or give me a call at 765-626-0828. To call me directly here at the Digital Den, and I'll be happy to answer any 3D printing questions there for you. Part 4 will be coming out on next Monday. I hope that you'll stick around and watch that. That's talking about cleaning up your prints after you've printed the file to be able to make sure that everything's going to be nice and easy for you there. So once again, thanks so much for watching the video. We'll see you in the next one, and I hope that I'll see you here at the Digital Den coming soon at the Kokomo-Howard County Public Library.